Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're plugging in from. I'm speaking to Jason Mills, a fellow Brit who is the founder of the Affiliate School. And Jason, we were just chatting prior to coming on that you and I met at Affiliate World Bangkok. It's one of these random connections, right? And both of us were saying how nice it is to actually meet people in real life rather than Zoom chats.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. Hopefully I'm a little bit more coherent today because I was very, very jet lagged the last time we met. But yeah.
You made sense. You made sense enough to make an impression. We're happy to have you on. I was mentioning, you're the founder of something called the Affiliate School. It's a cliched start on all these things, but is it possible for everyone just to give a brief background about yourself and your journey here? Because you were previously a teacher, right? And I guess that's
I was a teacher, yeah, back in the day. I'm about 7 or 8 years out of teaching now, and I kind of stumbled into SEO, I suppose, and niche sites and affiliate sites through starting a fantasy football blog. That was how I first got into it, and I didn't even know what WordPress was at the time. So obviously learned the ropes, set up this blog, started to generate some traffic. And that was where I kind of started to develop this passion for SEO. And obviously I wanted to generate more traffic, bring more into the blog. And then somehow stumbled into doing client SEO, freelance client SEO. And then from that stumbled into affiliate. And to this day, and now I think I've got 9 or 10 affiliate sites in my portfolio. And about 12, 15 months ago, I thought now is probably the time where I can start to share this journey with people, try and inspire others. I suppose in a way, inadvertently going back to my teaching roots. So I started the Affiliate School YouTube channel where I talk about my journey and try and educate others and inspire others to follow a similar path. So yeah, that's in 1 minute, that's my very long journey. It feels condensed there, but there's been a lot. Yeah, I've cut a lot out there.
And I saw something where you were saying that by documenting your journey, it's helped you give a focus into what you're doing and maybe build systems around that, right?
Yeah, massively. I think by documenting and trying to teach others 100%, it's made me be so much more reflective, which has, well, this has been my most successful year to date. And the last 6 months or so has really exploded. So I do put a fair amount of that down to the Affiliate School and just networking more. And it's forced me to kind of come from behind the desk a little bit, like you just said there, actually physically getting out into the world, but also online communities as well. So I didn't realize that Twitter had such a thriving niche and affiliate site community, which it does. And YouTube itself, there's a really good community there, and they're very, very supportive. I thought, I'm going to put this, I'm 40 odd year old bloke going on YouTube, putting out this stuff. I'm going to get trolled. And actually everyone's super supportive. And now I'm at the point, I'm sure we'll get onto this later, because I've invested a lot of time into learning video and YouTube. It's something that I'm now going I'm starting to look at putting into place with my own affiliate sites. So I think it's been a huge learning curve. But I'm also one of these people that kind of master something and then I want to move on to the next thing, and I want to, improve all the time. I've always kind of been like that. So I think that's we might talk about mindset, but I think that is a really important mindset for anyone that goes into any kind of online business where you're working on your own, which essentially is what I do. Yeah, I've got writers, like freelancers that contribute towards the work that I produce, but predominantly it's just me sat here 5 days a week.
Yeah, got it. Well, we obviously Everflow is a platform that helps mainly, I would say, kind of advertisers create their own affiliate program. And it's rare that we speak to people on the other side of the fence, people that are a publisher, and you are a publisher.
Yeah.
And as we were saying earlier, I think the affiliate world can be viewed through the lens of, its great strength is its flexibility. You can just move on to something. If something is not working, then everyone's now suddenly into home improvement offers or something like that. But what was interesting about, initially meeting you is that you've built up your stable of sites on the basis of SEO, which has much more sort of longevity, and putting down these kind of longer sort of evergreen sort of routes to sort of build this over time. Could you sort of like, for the benefit of people sort of like listening that are interested in, how that looks, what would you say like the big difference between organizing a business based on organic search and SEO is, rather than display ads and using traditional kind of affiliates for kind of quick and tactical growth? What would you say? How's that look?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. In that it is it's a long-term plan. It's not with display ads or any kind of paid ads, really. You can throw money at it. Yes, you can get a lot of data very quickly, but quite often the trends are going to change, or the data that you get in this 3-month period might tell you something different in the following 3-month period. Whereas for me, my approach very much is around creating a brand. So any of my affiliate sites that all rely pretty much purely on SEO and search traffic, they're all pretty much, or I try to create them as a brand. Now, I can definitely go 3-4 times better in terms of what I'm producing in terms of creating a brand at the moment, but that is always the initial approach. Whereas I suppose, I spoke to people at Affiliate World, and you see talks, and I think these guys that are doing display ads and paid ads and maybe even a bit of social, it's not necessarily a long-term game. Whereas I think the organic approach, it has to be, because it takes so much longer. And that there are other aspects to SEO. There are many approaches that you can take in terms of SEO. One of the, I don't know if you're familiar with the term parasite SEO, where you essentially you're shaking your head, so I'll expand. So you essentially, parasite SEO, you leverage a high authority website where you place your content on their site. So you're not creating a brand, you don't own it. You essentially you put your content on their site with your affiliate links in there, and then obviously that's, well, at the moment that's a tactic that works fairly well because Google are allowing it, and they're rewarding those types of sites with good rankings. But it's a very short-term play because you don't own you don't have full control over that site, whereas with your own site, of course, you've got full control over that, and so it's a much longer term play. So even within SEO, there are short-term plays, but for me, it's always been about the long term. And it's all, and you said evergreen content. The majority of my focus is always going to be evergreen content. And yes, it's going to need updating. 100%, you're going to need to go in and update, and I try and do that at least every 6 months per post. Particularly with the stuff that's performing well. But it's that's for me, that's the difference.
Yeah. And so obviously Google's really the big beast, the policeman that's monitoring all of this stuff, right? So is it called Core Web Vitals? Is that the name of Google's kind of, or is it Web Core Vitals? I can never remember.
Yeah, Core Web Vitals. So
Core Web Vitals,
which essentially is a user experience metric.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Google, you are right. Google are the police, and because they are the number one search engine. But I also think there's a lot of fear around some of the stuff that Google put out. So they have search liaison people on Twitter. They have fairly now big names that work for them that promote their, I'm not going to say propaganda, but what they want.
Sounds like the religious police.
Well, the thing is, some people do read this stuff and have this kind of, it is almost like that. It can become a bit of a cult. And I think,
well, for anyone listening, as Jason and I would testify, in order to be have a certain long period in affiliate marketing, you do need to have no hair. It's an essential, right, Jason?
Yeah, definitely.
That will happen.
SEOs have got no hair. Yeah. But I think people, yes, these things are important. So Core Web Vitals, and we talked beforehand about EAT, which is now
Yeah.
EAT, which we can discuss in more detail for people that don't know what it is.
Let's go into
but
that now.
These are concepts that, you know, Google put out there, and yes, they're important, but they're not the be all and end all. And I think people get super tied up in them, but they are, you know, some of them are more important than others, I suppose. So EAT. So EAT is expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. And these are guidelines that Google have put out there for mainly for product reviewers. So anything to do with product reviews, buyer's guides, that sort of stuff. They've now added an extra E, which stands for experience. And essentially the whole kind of concept behind this, I suppose, it's ultimately to allow them to serve better results within search, which is, you know, user experience is their number one aim. But I suppose also it's because there is a greater number of people publishing content, and now we've got we've got AI content that comes in. Obviously, ChatGPT is a huge talking point at the moment, and I think EAT and now EAT predominantly was there to try and control that and to kind of force people into creating better content rather than just regurg. You know, we've all seen these
meaningful
product reviews that are just meaningful, helpful. I mean, they've even got helpful content updates now. You know, they've got the product reviews updates. So there's and 2022, I think there were 13 Google updates in total, like big core Google updates that involved the spam updates, the helpful content updates, the product review updates. I think there were 2 or 3 of those. There were 2 helpful content updates. Then you've got your core updates on top of that. And a lot of these updates feel very much like they are focused towards affiliate type content. So the helpful content update in particular, and then the product reviews update that initially brought in EAT, these for me are very much focused on, you know, weeding out this real low level stuff and then rewarding the guys that are doing the best. Now, we're always going to see anomalies to that, and it's not always going to be the case. But in my experience, particularly with EAT, that's something that I've tried to build a lot more into my content, and it's something that has definitely, well, I've certainly not suffered as a result of it. And you know, you see people all the time in social groups and Twitter and so on, who they've got a site and it's making 15k a month, and then suddenly it gets wiped out by an update. And then, you know, you've got to look at it and reflect. I had a very, very minor update to one of my sites. I'm quite prominent in the health niche, health and fitness. And just prior to Christmas, I had about a 10-15% drop on one of my sites in terms of rankings. And I could very easily go on Twitter or on YouTube, whatever, and slag off Google. But the reality is, my EAT wasn't good enough.
Yeah,
you know, and you've got to look at that and be completely honest with yourself. Don't get me wrong, the content is good. It's written by experts, but is it as good as it could be? No. And I'm not saying that's the reason that it necessarily got hit. There could be other reasons. It could be to do with the backlink profile or things like that. But EAT has to be a huge focus going forward particularly because of the prominence of AI content.
Yeah, got it. Super interesting points there. So if Google's holding content creators' feet to the fire by these metrics of EAT, what are the fundamentals that you talk about with the affiliate school? If someone's thinking of setting up a website, or they have a brand that they're just beginning to build, what are the sort of, I don't know, the tenets of the affiliate school that people can take value from now, of like, okay, you know, as the Americans say, it's riches in niches, you know, or whatever. What are the big things that one should think about when they're either got a site, or they're building a site, or they want to expand on what they're doing in that site?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is to take a long-term approach and to put a real face behind the site. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be you, because if you're fortunate to have a site that's making, say, 5 or 6k a month, and you've got enough to invest in a full-time writer, for example, then make that writer the face of it. Give them maybe, and I don't think I've necessarily gone out there and said this, but, you know, maybe make them a stakeholder in the site if you don't want to do it yourself. But if you're happy to do it yourself, then that's a free, quick, easy way. We talked about this off air. How do Google show themselves as an authority? I was watching a podcast with Kyle Roof, who's a really good SEO, and he's a bit of an expert in EAT. He's really kind of got in the weeds with it, and he was saying that really Google are not going to make these value judgments on whether someone is an expert or not. But what they can do is they can identify a fake persona, because there's no entity, there's no there's no, you know, if I am the entity, if I am the main face and name behind a site, they're gonna, you know, I've got a Facebook profile, I've got an Instagram profile, a Twitter profile, LinkedIn profile, a YouTube channel. I'm a real person, and Google can connect those dots. Whereas if I've just taken a fake profile picture from a website, or generated a fake profile picture and just made up a name, and there are no entities anywhere else to back that up. Now, of course, you could scam that. You know, you could go away, you could create a LinkedIn profile and make it active and engage with people. You could go away and create a Twitter profile for it. And by all means, you can do that. But for me, the safest way is to put yourself behind it, particularly if it's your first site. So a lot of people watching my content, they're very new to it. They might only have one site, or they might not have started yet. So my advice usually is, look, put yourself behind it. If it's something, particularly if you're going to be writing it yourself, and you know, things like picking a niche, how do you choose the niche? Usually I go for something that you have a little bit of knowledge in, at least, and that you're interested in. And that was where I started. I started in something I had very little prior knowledge to health and fitness at about the age of 36. And I suddenly decided, in fact, I started a fitness challenge. That was how I first got into it. I did like a 6-month fitness challenge. And so I started consuming all this content on health and fitness. And I thought, I'm consuming this content, I'm learning, I'm gaining the experience. So I started to put stuff out, and that's how it all started, really. So it's not necessarily something that you even have to have a huge ton of experience in, but you need to be prepared to learn about it if you're going to be writing about it and trying to pass yourself off as an expert.
Yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, unique content, it's got to be, you've got to add value in some way to the content that you're creating. Don't just regurgitate facts and figures. You know, if you're writing a product review on, you know, a printer, for example, you're not just going to regurgitate the facts and figures. Actually, you know, in an ideal world, you're going to test that printer out. You're going to know, you know, how long the ink lasts in the real world and things like that, how much space it takes up on your desk, and you know, actually give some real value that people can't necessarily just get from the product listing itself.
Yeah, got it. And one thing within the health niche, one guy that I follow who's very interesting, I don't know if you've read his book, $100 Million Offers, Alex Hormozy.
No, I haven't. I'll check that out.
Super interesting guy. But he talks about, you know, when you're first starting this journey of doubling down within a niche or a niche, as our American friends say, it's not just about what you're interested in, but also think about this Venn diagram of like, how much value can you add to other people? What market you're looking to address, and does that market have money, right? Because maybe writing like a CV service, okay, there's a lot of people looking for jobs, but those people maybe are not prepared to pay for that service, right? Whereas something else is. So okay, those are great fundamentals that you've got there. And then once they start, you touched on this kind of earlier, I guess kind of like consistency and mindset is a big thing as well, right? Because it's a long-term game. You can't sort of see immediate results. How do you encourage people to stay the course and follow their sort of North Star of what they originally decided without sort of thinking, this isn't working, I'm going to move on to something else?
Well, the big thing for me is expectation. So manage expectation. And I've watched a lot of videos in the past where people, you know, and you see the headline, 0 to 25k a month in 3 months. It's unrealistic. That is not the norm. So in all of the content that I put out, if it's anything like that, I always say, look, you've got to have the mindset of this is going to take a minimum of 12 months. And it's unlikely that that is going to be enough time for you to, quit your job and do this full time. 18 months to 2 years would be my kind of ballpark if I had to kind of say to someone that don't give up within that time. In fact, I've just released a video where I talked about that this week, saying, look, it's one of the biggest mistakes that bloggers and affiliate site owners make, is that they just give up too soon. They give up too soon, because particularly if you're working on a fresh domain, most people that are starting this from scratch, they're not going to buy an aged domain. They're not going to buy an existing affiliate site. So they're starting from a newly registered domain. Now, we've always had this sandbox period with Google whereby they typically, for whatever reason, they just want to feel a site out for 6 months or so, or 9 months before they start to do anything with it. Now, in my experience, that's pretty much now 12 months. Sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it's longer. Might depend on the niche. No one really knows, but they call it the Google sandbox. So you can't judge anything until you pass that amount of time. And typically what I see, and I've just seen it literally 2 weeks ago with one of my sites, is that we just hit, I think it's the 11-month mark, and stuff was ranking brilliant in Bing. So we were getting traffic, we were getting sales. It was, nothing major. It was making like 100 quid a month. But all of a sudden, Google have taken the handbrake off, and everything has shot up across the board. Every single page, pretty much all the keywords that we track, bar one or two. And so obviously with Google, you've got 10, 20 times more traffic than you would have from Bing. Obviously that suddenly the income skyrockets, the traffic skyrockets, and then you've got something that works. So that might be a way to gauge it. Like if you have got traffic coming in within 3 to 6 months from Bing and that's converting, that's a really good sign. Even if you've only got 200 hits a month and you're getting 2 or 3 sales, that's probably not a bad conversion rate. So then you've just got to wait for the same to happen with Google. And there's multiple angles to take with that as well. There are some people that will preach purely just go completely content focused and don't worry about anything else. Obviously, you've got to have your on-page SEO bang on, but really, ultimately, particularly for harder niches, you are going to need some kind of backlink building effort as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about those actual kind of concrete steps. Let's say if someone's just starting out, because you can cover these bases pretty quickly, like thinking from the domain onwards. Let's say you've established your niche, you know what you're going to write about, it's going to be a long-term sort of game. What are the kind of immediate steps that you need to what are the tools within your toolbox when you've sketched out everything that you want on paper about your site, and now you actually need to practically do it? Where do you go from here?
Well, the first thing that I would do is the keyword research. So for keyword research, typically I use Ahrefs, but that does come with quite a significant barrier to entry in terms of price points, because I think the minimum is about $100 a month. But there are cheaper and other keyword tools that you can use. And you know what? The best keyword tool that you can use is Google. Because if you're typing something into Google and it starts to autocomplete, then the search volume for it. There are a couple of cheap or almost free SEO tools that I use, and I use these on a daily basis. And at the most, they cost me about $10 every 3 months. One is SERPworks with an X on the end. That is essentially, it gives you an overlay in Google. So it will overlay a lot of the key metrics of the sites. So you can judge sites in terms of DR, domain rating, DA. It will even tell you the word count per page and stuff like that without even leaving Google. So you can just type a search in and see it. Keywords everywhere is another one. So that again is an overlay within Google that will just tell you how much search volume there is per month for that keyword. And you can toggle the geo for it, so you can use it for wherever you're focusing on. And then the other one that I sometimes use is one called Detailed, which is an on-page SEO audit tool that, again, so you go onto a website, it's a Chrome extension. I think it might be a Firefox one as well. You click on it and it tells you all the on-page SEO metrics like the H1s, the H2s and stuff like that. But ultimately, keyword research is where it starts. And what anyone starting out, even if you think you've got a fairly focused niche, you want to focus in on one specific topic or area of that niche to begin with. And you want to become an expert and you want to show, essentially you want to show Google that the website is an expert within that topic, within the niche. And then once you've got that topical authority, and you've got the topical authority because you're ranking for stuff, then you can start to build out other topical clusters within that niche. So to put that
dropping gold here, Jason. You're dropping gold. It's good. This is.
I think it's stuff that people know. I think it's stuff that's out there, but it's just trying to condense it all into one.
So obviously, like the affiliate school, kind of, one would think that there is, like, now that you've established this organic ranking, perhaps there's areas outside of that for additional scale. And obviously the affiliate space enables companies to sell or service a product through another entity, and that paying that other entity a percentage of that. Where does the affiliate school sort of fit in, or what's your views on how affiliates can help grow a website or property?
In terms of helping to grow the companies that the offers they're promoting.
And I think you and I have got like crossover, right? Because Everflow has helped a couple of companies that you've had dealings with, where, for example, through Everflow, we have something called First Touch Attribution, which rewards content-based affiliates, right? I think the First Touch is a really interesting one, because it essentially, from a company's point of view, it's rewarding the affiliates that should matter the most to them, because it's the affiliates that are exposing their brand. Now, for me, one of the things that I preach a lot is to really engage with your affiliate managers. So obviously, and I use Everflow. Everflow is a platform that a couple of programs that I work with use. And it's great because you can see who your affiliate manager is. It's embedded within the platform itself, and just reach out to them and engage. And that is, with one of the programs that I've had, that I've been on in the last couple of years, I've had 2 affiliate managers on the same program, and they've switched over, and both were fantastic. I've not met them physically in person. Hopefully that will change this year. But the conversations that I've had just over email and just on Skype calls has been so valuable. I'm sitting here, I'm not going to show you the product, but I'm sitting here, and on my desk, I've got probably 15 different products that my affiliate manager has sent to me in the last couple of weeks that I'm working through to review and get the unique imagery and all of that sort of stuff. But just work with them, understand. They will help you as well with things like keyword research. If you've got traffic coming in and you've established yourself as your site as a topical authority, 9 times out of 10, if you put another review up or target another keyword, you're going to rank for it without any effort, because Google already knows that you're an authority in that specific topic. So affiliate managers are really keen to work with you because you can help them grow. If you're generating 50 grand commission in a month and you're on 50%, then that's 50 grand a month that you've brought into that company, which is 600k a year. So that's not going to be small change to most. Some huge companies it's small change, but most, if you're at that level, even if you're generating 10 grand a month revenue for a company, they're definitely going to engage with you. And you know what, even much lower levels than that, it just depends. And some are better than others. Some are more open to working with you than others. But I've always found that the ones that are open to working with you are the best ones long term. So at least if you open those discussions early doors, you start to get a feel for which are the best programs, who are the programs that are going to stick around, or the ones that are going to close after 12 months because they don't want to promote affiliate anymore. And it's really interesting. I've been out to I met the MD, or the founder actually of a company this year in Mallorca.
He asked me to go and meet him in Parma, and that was eye-opening. I spent a day with him, and he was telling me how being affiliate first for them as a company is fundamental to everything that they do, and it's key to their success. And it's so refreshing to hear that as an affiliate, because some companies don't have that, but I think there is a growing number of companies that do. And I think when you've got a company that invests in a platform like Everflow, for example, I think Everflow is a fantastic platform to use as an affiliate because it gives me so much data. But I'm assuming there's probably a fairly significant cost to anyone using that platform. But if they're willing to invest in that platform, then that's already telling me something. They're not using, a cheap platform that probably isn't great for them or great for the affiliate. So yeah, I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah, well, I think what's changed is, and what's interesting about the affiliate space and software and how all this can help is that, to your point, we've always known about the longer tail of affiliates, right? I mean, right from its early days of Amazon's conception, the whole idea of like a long tail of distribution was where online had its real opportunities. But actually managing a very long tail of small affiliates, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, is a real pain. If you're a direct advertiser and you need to invoice people or give people logins or auto generate messaging and all that kind of stuff, that can put off people from constructing an affiliate program. And one of the things that attracted me to Everflow was there's a lot of scale solutions within Everflow. You can do a lot of this in an automated fashion. So to your point, you can have maybe 100 affiliates that are delivering $1,000 each, which previously in the past really wouldn't be worth your while in administering. But now they can grow. You can give them things like creative assets. You talked about video, and then you're going to be doing more video in the coming years because of this need to differentiate oneself as an individual and an organic matter rather than a machine.
Yeah.
Just to sort of wrap up the sort of conversation with sort of views on the future and things like that, we kind of touched on sort of Chat GPT, which I've kind of got into late to the party, but I find it fascinating. What are your views on the future of kind of creating content, how this will be generated by machines? And obviously machines are looking for real people content rather than content generated by machines. So what's your views on that whole big question? And how do you see the future for small site owners growing?
I think that it's an opportunity and a threat, definitely. We don't know enough yet in terms of how the uptake will be, how the technology will scale, what the costs involved will be. There's still going to be a cost involved to creating content using AI. That's always going to be the case. It's obviously going to be monetized. But I think the real opportunity is probably going to be somewhere in between not using it and using it for creating content. So what I mean by that is, I think maybe to help with outlines or certain sections of an article. I think if you're relying on AI to just churn out a piece of content and you're expecting that and to do that at scale and to just expect that to rank long term, I think that's unrealistic. I don't think it's a threat necessarily in terms of how we create content, because like you say, I think, and we know that showing that expertise, authoritativeness and trust and having the experience that you can actually show working with the product, that's going to be key. The concern for me more about the threat is how AI might be used to find this content. So if Google disappears, or if Google's market share drops by 80% because everyone likes a chat-based AI model. Now, the reality is a lot of the things we search for can probably be replaced with AI. So, if I'm looking for a recipe to make Yorkshire puddings, and for your American followers, if they don't know what a Yorkshire pudding is, follow it up, they're amazing. Then I think for recipes and stuff like that, it's going to be great. But if I want to get a review of this digital camera, I want to get some real insight into it. And I'm not sure that an AI model can give me that. not completely. They can get the specs, and I can use that, and I can use ChatGPT or another AI content model to get all the specs and the data and that sort of stuff. But I've still got to give some insight into what it's like to use, what the screen's like, how, you know, how it focuses, and all this battery life and in the real world. And that's one of the reasons why I want to bring more video into my content, because it's the easiest way to show that you have actually done that.
Mate, that's such an interesting point. Like, and it's kind of worth hanging everything around that in a way. Like, human insight can never be replicated by machines.
Yeah.
Right. Our experience of picking it's heavy. It might not be heavy for a robot. It's heavy to hold this camera. It feels clunky. It feels like a Leica. It feels like, you know what I mean? That is very, very interesting, isn't it? And if we can convey that human experience, which, as you alluded to, one great way of doing that is by video. That can't yet be replicated with all the nuances that we have and all the experience that you bring to bear that got you right there in that seat right now. That makes you unique and Jason, and that can never be replicated by machines. So that human insight is a very interesting thing to hit on. Yeah,
and it's going to be such an interesting year, I think, this year, because that technology is the one interesting thing, particularly with ChatGPT, is that it's gone viral. Everyone's talking about it. It's not just affiliate marketers that are talking about this. Like, affiliate marketers and content creators have been talking about Jasper and stuff like that. No one else in the world was talking about this. But ChatGPT has been on primetime news. It's being discussed massively. It's out there. There's, you know, Joe Blogs is using it. So that's the interesting thing for me. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes this year in 2023. I think long term, look, there's always been a threat to Google. There's always, you know, it's such a even just within the scope of the internet, Google is still relatively young, and you know, we're still in the unknown, really. You know, people in 50 years' time are going to look back at this and be like, what are they talking about? This is archaic, because things will change. So we can't always rely on the fact that this is how it's going to be. And I think ultimately the people that will do well, as always, are the people that are at the forefront of it, and the people that adapt. So if you try and use SEO practices from even 6 years ago, or 10 years ago, like real black hat stuff, it doesn't work, because Google has evolved, machine learning has evolved, the algorithm has evolved. And the same applies to this. So there's always been a threat there. There always will be a threat to anything that's there. But you've just got to go with it, adapt, and there'll still be a role for the little guys, I'm sure.
Great. Well, it's super interesting to talk to you. If people want to get hold of you, Jason, how can they reach out and discover more of what you're doing?
Sure. The best way is the Affiliate School. So just go onto YouTube and search for the Affiliate School, and you'll find me. Awesome.
Well, thanks again. We appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thanks, Zach. It was a pleasure.